We kindly ask all of the attendees to take a moment to silence your mobile devices. Your cooperations are greatly appreciated. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome and thank you for willing to attend the scientific paper presentation session today. We also want to express special thanks to all of the presenters for their willingness to share their invaluable knowledge on their research paper. For your information, there will be three presenters who will be presenting their research paper in this second session with sub-theme on spatial and temporal modeling, unveiling patterns across time and space. Before we start with the presentation, allow me to remind you a few rules that the presenters must follow. The presenter is given 10 minutes to present their presentation. The first bell will ring one time as soon as the presenter begins their presentation. The second bell will ring two times to indicate the presenter has 2 minutes left to finish their presentation. The third bell will ring 3 times to indicate the end of their presentation. After the presentation ends, the Q&A session will begin immediately. The time given is 5 minutes and the bell will ring 2 times to indicate the end of the Q&A session. For online attendees, you may submit your questions in the Q&A chat box above. All presenters must adhere to the time set and are kindly requested to be aware of your turns of presentation to ensure the smoothness of the presentation session. All presenters are required to remain seated in the presentation room until the end of the session as a sign of respect to the other presenters for their presentation. Without further ado, we are delighted to introduce the moderator that will be conducting the second session, Yang Berusaha Miss Ili Sarah Aspar, Timbalan Pengarah from Jabatan Pengurusan Data dan Statistik, Bank Negara Malaysia. Please welcome.
Thank you. So good afternoon and warm welcome to everyone. First and foremost, I would like to thank all of you to be attending this session on spatial and temporal modeling. I'm Ili and I will moderate this session. So today we will have three presenters. They will be sharing their work on application of spatial and temporal analysis or modeling in diversified and interesting areas. I think one from looking at payment system, health system, and also on forest plantation. So I'm sure we will all benefit from their sharing today. So the flow of presentation, as mentioned earlier, would be a 10 minutes presentation and followed by Q&A. So we will have less than 1 hour. We will try to finish by 3. Yeah. Okay. Without further delay, let's begin with our first presenter, Sharif Abu Bakar Sarip Abidinsa. He is a supervisor in data analytics in payment oversight department of BNM. Very strong academic background in machine learning, statistics. He holds a master in applied science and currently pursuing masters in computer science as well. So Sharif will be presenting a paper titled Machine Learning for Anomaly Detection in Money Services Business Outlets Using Data by Geolocation. For audience information, this paper has also won a Young Statistician Award during the 12th Irving Fisher Committee Conference in Basel recently. So I now invite Sharif Abu Bakar to begin his presentation.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you so much, Madam Moderator, Puan Ili. Good afternoon and Assalamualaikum to everyone. So first off, to start my presentation, I would like to have a very quick interaction with everyone here. So you can just raise your hand if you have experienced any of the following scenarios or situations that I will be detailing out. So who here has been to any money changes or currency exchange outlet in Malaysia and exchange foreign currencies? You can raise up your hands. Great. So everyone, pretty much everyone. So who prefers to go to maybe the airport to exchange your currencies? No one? Maybe Mid Valley? Oh, you? Okay, my panelists. Mid Valley? We have Mid Valley people. What about you don't really care as long as it's near to your house? Oh, okay, that's great. So thank you so much for your participation. The reason why I'm asking about money changes is because it's a key topic in the work that me and my colleague Vincent Lee, he's here today, have worked on in the past. Not past, quite recently. It's in the past, but it's quite recently. So it's great to know that some of you are familiar with money exchanges. Now, to set some context for everyone, um, money exchange business is considered a high-risk business operation, especially in terms of money laundering, terrorism financing, and proliferation financing. And this is primarily due to the cash intensive nature of the business. So some of you have exchanged money, you use physical cash, right? And because of that, it is considered somewhat high risk and could be abused by criminals or threat actors, right? So it is very important that we ensure these exchange businesses are not abused by the criminal actors. And this is where BNM, specifically my department, comes in. We do regulatory oversight on these businesses to ensure that they are fully complying with our rules and regulations. You might be wondering why so? Because full compliance with our regulations signals that they have some risk management controls and governance in their businesses, which is important so that they can combat any financial risks or crimes that I have mentioned earlier. And of course, it is ultimately to ensure that financial stability in Malaysia, which is part of BNM's mandate. So acknowledging this risk, it is important that we ensure these businesses are, uh, like I said, not abused. But at the time we were working on this paper, there were about 200 licensees or licensed money changing operators with about over 800 outlets. And in BNM, there are only about 70 officers or 70 supervisors. And in fact, not all 70 are actually overseeing the licensed money changes. Only a fraction of us are looking at money changes. And to add on top of that, the fraction of the 70 people or supervisors, we also look at not just licensed money changes, but also other payment services, such as remittance services. For example, Western Union, the e-wallet issuers like Touch and Go, GrabPay, ShopeePay, you might be familiar with this, and also our non-bank card issuers, for example, BigPay and Aeon. So these are some other regulators that we have to look at, and I'm sure that you can kind of guess what is the pain point of my team in my department, which is essentially we have very limited human resources to look at every single outlet and licensees effectively. Hence why we come up with this project. We leverage machine learning capabilities to flag out anomalous or abnormal currency exchange outlets. And this allows us to perform a more targeted and data-informed supervisory examinations. So I hope that you are very clear about our motivation and background about this project. So let's get a bit more technical on the proposed solutions. I'll start with the data. So the data that we have, we use transaction level data that were submitted by the industry players to us, BNM, in a monthly basis. So for your info, and so that you can better appreciate what kind of data we have, for example, we have customer data that includes their name, ID, and how much you transacted, uh, where do you transact, what currencies or foreign currencies you buy and sell, right? So from this transaction level data, we summarize from transaction level to MSB outlet by MSB outlet data into 30 features. Due to confidentiality and privacy concerns, we are not able to discuss all the 30 features, but I can summarize them into 3 high-level data categories. The first one is transaction, second is customer, and third is location. So I'll walk a bit on each of the categories and some examples that we can share to everyone. So in terms of transactions, we have the transaction value and volume per money changing outlet in the given area. So why is this important? Because for money changes that are close within the same proximity, for example, in the malls, they tend to be, and they usually and have to perform on a similar level in terms of business performance and value and volume. And why is that? Because it is part of BNM's regulatory requirement for them to not conduct predatory pricing. This is, of course, to prevent, to encourage market competition among our players. So second, for customers, we have features that talks about the share of higher risk nationality customers. This is higher risk in terms of money laundering and terrorism financing, and also other risks that we retrieve from the Financial Action Task Force list. And last but not least is the location data. We have the coordinates of each MSB outlets, right? That allows us to do spatial analysis. Okay. Now that we have the data, our proposed solution is we leverage um, on weekly supervised machine learning. So you might be wondering, what is weekly supervised machine learning? You might have heard supervised or unsupervised. So essentially, this approach combines both unsupervised and supervised learning. And why we use this method? Because our data, we don't have the actual ground truth, or in technical terms, we don't have the labels. Because for each transactions, we do not know, oh, this is anomaly, this is normal, because that is the ultimate objective that we want to achieve, right? Hence why we use our weekly supervised machine learning to enable us to have silver labels. Silver labels meaning it's somewhat low quality labels, but still allows us to do supervised learning. So our workflow is really simple. We have unlabeled data, we apply unsupervised learning to come up with the labels, and then once we have the labels, that is anomaly or not anomaly, we do supervised learning. And in terms of model development, we apply the usual industry practice model, machine learning model development. For example, sampling technique, because the label that we got from the unsupervised learning is imbalanced. We only have about less than 10% of anomalous outlets. Hence why we use SMOT to ensure that we have better accuracies in our predictions. And we have used 80% training set, and we leverage F1 score evaluation metric just to ensure that we capture both false positives and false negatives. And last but not least, we also do cross validation. Okay, so I'll talk a bit more on the isolation forest. So like for isolation forest, we actually apply this unsupervised learning separately on the three high level data category. Remember, if I mentioned earlier, we have transaction, customer, and location. So we apply three models, unsupervised learning models, using isolation forest on three different data sets. And why we do this? Because we want to remove biases, because if you just combine all the data, it's possible that the unsupervised learning, the association forest, we only flag out certain behavior, certain outlets based on certain features, maybe only transaction features. And we don't want our model to do that. Hence why we separate our data into three high-level categories and apply three different isolation forest models. Okay, so once we have this model, this is the outcome of our supervised model once we got the labels from the unsupervised learnings. So the base model that we use, that we got is like GBM, and we actually did run through several supervised machine learning model. But most importantly that I want to highlight here is the sharp feature importance here, because at the end of the day, we want to understand why certain MSPs or certain abnormality is being flagged for being abnormal, right? So here is, you can see, for example, it says feature 23 is considered as the feature that contributes to the most abnormalist, that contributes to being like a very significant feature that contributes to the abnormality. And this is also important for us to understand the mechanics behind the model. And once we have the model, it is very important that we produce this model to our supervisors so they can use very quickly. And we use that via dashboards, Power BI dashboards, as you can see on the right side. The red ones are abnormal, and the blue ones are the normal behaviors. Right, so it's easy for our supervisors that those are not technicals, so they can just go through this dashboard and see what is our summary from the modeling that we did, right? And just to share some example cases from the past, we did have flagging where we noticed that certain outlets, they have somewhat significantly lower turnover or value and volume. And when we do further investigation, they actually do a second book, or what we call it, they record unofficially. So we were able to detect that, and the end action was that these year licenses were not renewed and revoked by BNM. Okay. Now, for the next steps, I think it's very important that for this project to develop is that we get more inputs from other intelligences and also our subject matter experts, supervisors, be it within BNM or outside BNM. And overall, this is the the approach that we use to come up with the abnormality in among our MSP outlets. But just for your information, this is one of the few supervisory technologies that we have currently. Yeah. So I think that would be everything from me. I appreciate your comment, feedback, or questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharif. Yeah, it's good to know that machine learning will be able to help you in reducing the operational works and allow focus of the resources. So I just open the floor to questions. If you have any question on the presentation, also those online, you can just type in the Q&A chat box. So one question from me, right? Just basic question. In terms of your data, do you collect every single transaction without threshold?
Yes, we do collect every single transaction without threshold. So if any of you had transacted with our money changes,
So definitely our name.
definitely we will be able to see your
Okay,
transaction, your
alright.
name, and your details. Yes.
If there is no question, maybe we can move on to the next presentation. But I'm sure if you have any other question, you can always approach Sharif later on, or his team. I think his team is also here. Yeah. So moving on to the next presentation. The next presenter would be Miss Farzana Sher Muhammad. She is an assistant professor in the Department of Economics in Sardar Bahadur Khan Women University, Pakistan. Currently pursuing her PhD in Faculty of Business and Economics at University Malaya. So Farzana will be presenting her research titled Spatial Analysis of Inequalities in Maternal and Child Mortalities in Pakistan. Please join me in welcoming Farzana Sheikh Mohammed.
Shall I start? Right? Shall I start? Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Farzana Sheer Mohammed, and topic of my presentation is Spatial Analysis of Inequalities in Maternal and Child Mortalities in Pakistan. This is the outline of my presentation. I'll start with the introduction. The annual death of 287 million pregnant women and 5 million children under the age of 5 years has been a serious public health concern throughout the globe. Maternal and child mortality is not an outcome of treatment failure. Rather, it arises from the complex interaction of various socioeconomic, housing, environmental, and cultural influences. According to the Burden of Disease report from 1990 to 2019, maternal and child mortality is among the 5 leading causes of deaths in Pakistan. And among the risk factors, maternal and neonatal disorders are the 3rd leading contributors. Pakistan stands 3rd out of top 10 fragile countries with the highest maternal and child mortality burden globally. Among the SAARC countries, it has 3rd rank in high rates of maternal mortality, and it has the highest infant and under 5 mortality rates, surpassing the other low-income countries such as Afghanistan, India, and Nigeria. Maternal mortalities in rural areas of Pakistan are 26% greater than in urban areas. Now, there is a need for evidence on why some areas are doing better than others in terms of maternal and child mortalities in Pakistan. This research offers a novel perspective on special inequalities in maternal and child mortality by analyzing various factors on DMI. The research is significant for policymakers in developing more geographically targeted strategies to reduce mortality rates and achieve equitable health outcomes. It will also trace Pakistan's progress towards two important sustainable development goals. The objective of the study is to estimate district mortality index and to determine the special impact of various factors and locate the special clusters of mortalities. The research gap is in the previous studies, maternal, neonatal, infant, and child mortalities were studied separately. This study combines all mortalities by estimating an index which is composed of these 7 mortalities. Updated and extensive data of multiple indicator cluster survey is used. The Mosley and Chen model is enhanced by inducting geographical aspect into the determinants of mortalities. And previous literature has identified the determinants of mortalities in non-special perspective. This study fills literature gap by exploring the special impact of various factors on health outcomes. The household data set of multiple indicator cluster survey for 2019 and 20 is used, and the unit of analysis is 141 districts from Pakistan. There are 7 mortalities for which the index is composed, out of which 4 are child and 3 are maternal mortalities. For objective 1, we'll estimate the index. For objective 2, we'll find if there is association between the mortality rates of the districts and where the location of this association. And for objective 3, we'll find the effect of various factors on DMI in special terminologies. So we'll use geographically weighted regression model. The results of special variation of DMI and maternal and child mortalities depict that from panel A to H, from panel A to D depicts child mortalities, panel E to G shows maternal mortalities, and panel H shows the overall mortality scores. From panel A to D, um, um, yes. From panel A to D, we can see that this is the area. Punjab province shows the highest child mortalities, as from panel A to D is child mortality. From panel E, F, and G, maternal mortalities are highest in Balochistan province, and the overall district mortality index score shows that Balochistan has the highest both maternal and child mortalities. And now to find out if the district has high mortality rate, what is its relationship with its neighboring district, we'll use Moran's eye. The results of Moran eye shows that the mean value of a district has a positive association with the mean value of mortality has a positive association with its neighboring district. Now to find out the location of that association, we will use Lisa test, and Lisa test shows from panel A to H shows the red color represent high clusters. A district with high mortality rate is when surrounded by a district with high mortality rate is called high cluster. And the low clusters are depicted represented with the blue color. So we can see from panel A to D, the high clusters of child mortality are found in Punjab province, and the high clusters of maternal mortality are found in Balochistan province, and the overall mortality score shows that the high clusters are found into the Balochistan province. And you can also see the low clusters, but we are more interested into the high clusters. Finally, we have used geographically weighted regression model to find out the effect of various socioeconomic, environmental, health, and housing factors on district mortality index score. And we have found that GWR is a more robust model as compared to the OLS, as we can see that the R square has improved from 33 to 63%. Also, the model is robust in terms of EIC, BIC, and log likelihood. The results depict that the wealth index quantile has a positive association with district mortality index score, while mother education, water quality, sanitation facility, antenatal care visits, skill birth attendance, hand washing, and media exposure has a negative effect with district mortality index score. Now to find out the association between the indicators and their location, we can see that the mother education level in panel A has the highest impact in Balochistan, upper districts of Sindh and lower districts of Punjab, while wealth index quintile has the highest impact in the upper districts of Punjab and upper districts of Balochistan. The sanitation facility has the highest impact into the upper districts of KP and lower districts of Balochistan and few districts from Punjab. The hand washing facility has the highest impact in Fata and a few districts of Sindh, while antenatal care visit has the highest impact in Punjab and few districts of Balochistan. Skilled birth attendance has the highest impact in the upper districts of Balochistan, lower districts of Fata, and few districts from Punjab. The water quality has the highest impact in upper districts of KP and Punjab and lower districts of Balochistan, while media exposure has the highest impact in the upper districts of Punjab, few districts of KP, and most of the districts in Balochistan. We can conclude that despite being the most developed province regarding healthcare facilities and literacy, Punjab has the highest child mortality rates. Maternal mortality and overall DMI scores were highest in Balochistan as compared to the other provinces, showing heterogeneity in health outcomes across the districts in Pakistan. The special analysis revealed that specially clustered districts found in Punjab and eastern Balochistan exhibited higher under 5 and maternal mortality rates with high clusters respectively. There are huge disparities in socioeconomic, environmental, health, and housing factors that are driving special inequalities in maternal and child mortalities in Pakistan. This special variation is also reflected in the DMI scores, highlighting the need for targeted interventions to address these inequalities and improve health outcome across all the districts. Thank you so much. If you have any question, you can ask.
Thank you, Fazana, for
Thank you
the
so much.
interesting presentation. Yeah, open the floor for any question. Also, those from online. Yes.
Yeah, that is also a literature gap, but is not covered because in the survey question, the gender of the, because it will create distortion in the results as I'm generating the index, which is composed of maternal mortality. 3 indicators are composed of maternal mortality. And so the topic does not cover the male gender most. That's why I did not include that in part of my, research.
For the child, because there are other indicators
Because
for
the
child.
index is generated with both child and maternal.
Okay.
So if there are 4 child mortalities and 3 maternal, still in the child mortality will be female gender, and maternal mortality is 100% composed of female gender. That's why I did not include gender difference in this particular topic. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Any other question from the floor? Okay. If there is no further questions, thank you again, Fazana, for the
Thank you, ma'am.
presentation.
Thank
So
you.
we'll move on to our last presentation by Johanna Jamalul Kiram. She is a maths lecturer at the Preparatory Center for Science and Technology at UMS and currently also pursuing her PhD in statistics at UM. She will be presenting her research titled Comparison Analysis for Variogram Models of Thick Stance Volume Specific to Solomon Clone in Tawau, Sabah, Malaysia, Effect of Bin Width. Please welcome Johanna.
Thank you, Ili. If you don't mind, I would like to stand because I can't really see my slide. Okay, so Assalamualaikum and a very good evening to everybody. So my title of my presentation today is comparison analysis for variogram models of thick stand volumes specific to Solomon clone in Tawau, Sabah, effect of bin width. Okay, so the flow of my presentation will start with a rough introduction of what my research is about, and then we'll go through the materials and the methods, followed by the results, and finally the conclusion. Okay, so just a rough introduction. Okay, this study focuses on determining what is the best bin width to obtain the best variogram model of the volume of the thick trees. Okay, so thick trees, scientifically known as Tectona grandis, that are specifically planted in Brumas Camp, Tawau, Malaysia, Sabah, particularly only the Solomon Island derived clone, because this is the clone that thrives the best currently. And a variogram's accuracy depends on the adequate amount of data that suits its density, not how large the sample size is, especially if the sample collected does not vary in lag intervals. So what does it mean here is that in statistics, we are usually sudah biasa with the fact that the bigger the sample size is, the better, right? But when it comes to spatial variograms, spatial statistics, the accuracy of the model actually depends on how the data is taken. If I am, example, a tree, okay, and I'm going to collect a variogram, I'm going to try to model a variogram, and I'm only taking data of trees that are on my right, then the density of the data will be biased. It will not generate an accurate model. So what my paper here today is trying to prove that data should be taken in all directions when it comes to spatial information. Okay, so based on my data, this data was a research that was instigated by Innoprice Corporation with partnering with Sirat Forestry Department in France. Okay, so they started it in 1994. It was about mass cloning initially, but then it slowly grew into other researches as well. Okay, so again, the main objective is to determine what is the correct bin width to obtain the best variogram model for the volume of Tectona grandis specific to Solomon Island derived clone. So bin width is the term that is used in spatial statistics to determine the distance between a pair of data. Let's, for example, my model here is based on trees. So bin width would mean when I were to collect data and I were to measure the difference in their variables, which is volume here, what is the distance in between these two trees? Okay, so in this paper, I'm going to show you that when I compare trees that are further apart compared to the trees that are too close apart, it will make a difference in its error, in its accuracy. So in spatial statistics, the first thing we should do is identifying the relationship between physical parameters and spatial information. So this has been done previously in a previous paper, as I've cited here. And then we want to examine the effect of bin width using existing experimental variogram. But for this paper specifically, I only focus on exponential model. There are other models such as spherical, Gaussian, and circular, and so more. Okay, and then these models will be graphed for comparison, and then I will be calculating its root mean square error and, of course, cross-validation. Okay, so again, back to the data. This is based on one block that was a block of teak trees that is planted in Brumas Camp. Okay, and this block was observed for over 12 years. These are the coordinates. And then the teak trees were planted in a randomized complete block design with 4 contiguous replication comprising of 2 rows each of 30 plants of the 15 different genotypes. These trees were spaced 4 times 4 meters apart. giving 625 stems per hectare. So the block is about more than 5 hectares, so it's about 4,000 trees. But we are only assessing trees that are in the 11th to the 20th plant in each row, corresponding to 80 plants per clone. There were multiple clones, resulting in over 1,200 trees. But since we are only considering the clone that is thriving the most, which is the Solomon clone, we ended up with only 451 trees for over 5 hectare, but only 432 trees were managed to be geo-referenced. That means dapat coordinate dia lah. Okay. So this is the experimental model that is being focused in this study, which is the exponential model. This is the empirical model that is used to calculate variogram. This is for every variogram model lah. Okay, so the bin width that are being compared here is 555 meters apart, 333 meters apart, 277.5 meters apart, and 222 meters apart. This is because we are using latitude conversion, where 1 degree of latitude is approximately 111 kilometers. So in bin widths, using RStudio commands, it is written as 0.005, 0.003, 0.0025, and 0.002 respectively. Okay, so and then cross-validation were then carried out to ensure reliability, and the variogram represents the spatial structure better. Graphical observations are done, and the root mean square error of each model is then calculated. So we begin by showing the exponential model with different bin widths. So tadi, this was 0.005, where the trees are 555 meters apart, so they're very far apart, meaning that that there are not that many pairs of trees that are that far apart. Okay, and then we went a bit closer, 333 meters apart. So there are more trees that are in pairs. There are 333 meters apart. And then this is 0.0025, 277.5 meters apart. And then this one was the closest one, which was about 222 meters apart. So we managed to obtain so many pairs lah. I think about 59 pairs. Okay, so figure shows the fitted exponential variogram model to the empirical variogram with different bin widths. Graph with a bin width of 0.002, which has the most number of pairs, shows the smoothest fit is because of the high number of pairs, but when we decrease the number of pairs to A, it shows clear and concise fitting. So what I'm trying to say is that even though there are only very little data here, but the line hits the pairs. When it comes to cross-validation, the prediction errors for all 4 different bin widths are relatively symmetric around 0, which indicates balanced errors without symmetric bias. All 4 graphs suggest small errors overall due to narrow histogram, but close observation do show that the bin width with 0.03 has a slightly higher concentration around 0, which means that it is better in overall prediction accuracy, indicating that it might be the more accurate model. But with the calculation of RMSE, we also found that the 0.003 bin width, also known as the 333 meters apart, has the lowest amount of error. So the final calculations of RMSE, nugget, sill, and range is shown, and it suggests that the most accurate model is with the bin width of 333 meters apart, and it has the smallest amount of error, making it the best model compared to the others. Okay, so conclusion, it proves that the decision to choose the correct bin width to predict a model highly affects its accuracy. Comparison with different bin width must be made first before we begin selecting a model. In this case, 333 meters apart in leg distance is the one that gives the highest accuracy. While most statistical models suggest that the bigger the sample size, the better, it appears different when it comes to spatial modeling. So bin width and lag distance plays a huge role in determining the reliability and accuracy of spatial model. If the data is sampled in every direction possible, with every variety of lag distance enough to cover the whole research site, then this may be the case. But when it comes to spatial data, it could be costly, difficult, and even dangerous to ensure sample collected is wide enough to cover what is needed. So among reasons why spatial modeling is also crucial is to be able to predict without having the need to go through difficult and dangerous sampling tasks, especially when it involves data that within forest area where it is the habitat for so much wildlife. So that is all from me today. If you have any questions, the floor is open.
Thank you, Johanna. Yeah, open the floor for question. I just have one question, if there is none from the floor. You mentioned earlier the one with 200 something is hit quite a number of pairs, which is 59. But in the end, the most I think that the best bin width is 300, the 300 one. Can explain why does the 200 one didn't make it?
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that was 222 meters,
Yep.
which is the closest, and the 555 meters, which is the furthest, gives the least amount of pairs. When it is being modeled, it hits more points in percentage, but it also gives higher amount of error. Whereas when it's too close apart, it doesn't hit that many pairs, but it also gives a higher amount of error. This is because when we are only examining trees that are too close apart or too far apart, it could mean biasness in spatial modeling. Does that answer your question?
Yep. Thank you. Any more question from the audience? Yep.
Thank you for your sharing. You said that you chose exponential model and there were other different models. Can you share as to why you choose exponential model? Was it the other models already covered in other research or otherwise? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. I chose exponential model because yes, there's a previous study where I made a comparison between regression model and variogram models, and it showed that exponential model actually has the least amount of error into fitting this model of thick trees.
I think we are good. No other question from the audience. So yeah. Okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Take Mama Senior Director,
Okay. Yes, that exponential variogram model is currently the model that has the least amount of error compared to spherical model, Gaussian model, circular model, and most of the models that are being prepared on RStudio. But I am working on a different model to fit the data better since the error is still considerably quite high. Thank you. Thank you so much.
question posted online. So it seems only RMSE was used as the sole metric of evaluation. Did you try using other metrics to assess the performance, and did they yield consistent results?
Okay. Yes, so only RMSE was used as the cross validation is because we've done with R squared as well, with M means absolute error as well, and also AIC, BIC. But because spatial modeling uses coordinates, which means that the variable, the weightage of the variable, let's say the usual cross validation that we are used to here in regression is quite straightforward, is because it's regression to macam y is equals to ax and so on, right? But when it comes to variogram spatial modeling, it takes into account coordinates. That means distance in between your variables instead of just the variable itself. Does that paint the picture better? So there is quite a number of cross validation techniques in Scholar that are being considered for, but RMSE is so far the stabler one to determine error. I did go into other error validation, but it shows a bit of macam dia tidak consistent with previous findings macam tu. So to be safe, I only stick with RMSE because that is what I found in previous findings regarding tick trees, plantations and stuff like that.
Any more question? Okay, so I think we have come to the end of the session. Once again, thank you to all the presenters for your excellent contribution today. Yeah, a big round of applause for the three presenters. Also to the audience, thank you for the attention and participation. That concludes today's session, and back to the organizers.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, allow us to express our deepest gratitude to the moderator and all of the presenters today. As a token of gratitude and appreciation, we invite Yang Berusaha Puan Rianti Saari to deliver the souvenirs to the moderators and presenters. Please welcome. We invite Yang Berusaha Ms. Ili Sarah Aspar as the moderator to receive a token of appreciation. Please welcome. Next, we invite the presenters to receive the souvenirs. Please welcome Mr. Sharif Abu Bakar Sarif Abidinsa. Ms. Farzana Sher Muhammad. Ms. Johanna Jamalul Kiram. We express our gratitude to Yang Berusaha Puan Rianti Saari for the souvenirs giving. Next, we will now move on to the photo session. I would like to invite Yang Berusaha Puan Rianti Saari, Yang Berusaha Miss Ili Sarah Aspar, and all of the presenters to the front to take a photo. And Dr. Ain. Please welcome Dr. Shida also. Thank you. With the end of the photo session, today's presentation session has now ended. Before we end this event, we would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to each presenter and their co-authors, moderators, judges, rapporteur, officer, and all of the guests for their participation and contribution to this scientific paper parallelization event. Your presence greatly contributes to the success of this event, and we greatly appreciate your support. We are looking forward to seeing you in the same event next year. With that, wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.